Buddy, how's it going? Hope you're feeling blessed and not stressed. The live, not many people came on, so I deleted it. I'm going to keep trying every week. I think sometime this week I'm going to start up again. And we're going to make this a weekly thing, so I hope you guys join in. I'm giving notice right now. I'll give notice every other video. But the topic I'm talking about today is something that is very well talked about, and one that needs to be talked about maybe a little more in essence. So the topic I wanted to bring up today was this whole idea of when people are saying to themselves, when you keep hearing this talk about like, oh, we're transitioning from 3D to 5D, etc. And, you know, people might be like, why don't we go through the 4D? We are going through the 4D. I just hope you guys understand that that's being taken place in dream time. Now, why this shift is happening and how we can even see it live and in our lives is that it's ever presently happening. We just may not be aware of it. And, you know, we can keep going online and looking for these answers, but really it's right here. So for the last little while, and I'm sure most of you may or may not agree, and if you don't agree, that's okay, because then that means you're on one side. If you do agree and you're nodding your head the whole time I'm talking, that means you're on the other side. And this will become easier and easier to distinguish as time goes on. If you have seen these types of faces, and I'm putting them up right now, then you are on the path of, let's say, the 5 and onward dimensional existence. Very blatant, it's very clear. You may have been experiencing this with family members, loved ones, friends, etc., neighbors. And I would say from my experience, this started with COVID, okay? So the first move or the first shift I saw in this was when it was shots or no shots, right? And for a lot of us, some of us immediately felt in our gut, oh no, I can't take these. Oh no, I can't take these. So you're part of the roster and you're part of the grouping that had this innate kind of understanding that this was part of the performance that we were going to be undertaking. Now, you have to understand is that some people could say like, oh, it's because they were conspiracy theorists. No, not in the slightest. Not all of us were. Some of us just went with our gut. Okay. Some of us were the conspiracy theorists, fearful of our governments, etc., etc. The point is that there was a grouping of us that just said no. And then there was a grouping of us that were in the middle that didn't want to participate. And they went kicking and screaming and ended up participating. And then there's the ones that just jumped on board and participated right away. So you see this three-prong situation occurring in that question, in that position. So I'm giving you this example so that you can understand how this all translates to right now. I say this is an example is because at this state of existence right now, there is ample and if not a plethora of information and data and sourcing and studies that were conducted that did prove that those shots were not only negligent, they were contaminating to our human rights and civil liberties in the sense that genealogically they are very damaging. There is so many irrefutable studies that prove that this was something that was done to harm the human population. Now, this is kind of what I'm trying to say. In this day, state, and age, there's a lot of us living in this form of denial. Okay, and it's not just, please know that this is not about COVID. I'm trying to say, like, there's this three-prong situation that happens a lot. And in the three-prong situation, you're going to notice that there's always this middle ground that can either go this way or that way. That's what I would say God and the Creator is most interested in, is you guys, the ones that are in the middle. You guys are the types that need the proof before you make your decisions. And at the same time, it's like the ones that just follow suit are the ones that will never revert or change over. And the reason why I'm saying this is because in this stage, in living in this version, okay, you'll notice that you make this face all the time, or you ask this question to yourself all the time. What world are these people living in? We say it over and over. What world are they living in? What do they see? How can they be this naive? How could they be this blind? How could they? Right? You might say this multiple times if you're on that timeline. Then there's ones of you that are in the middle that are like, well, you know, I kind of feel this way sometimes and I kind of don't feel this way sometimes. You agree with some things, but you don't agree with other things. You're right in the middle. You don't know which one's going to win out yet. Okay. And then there's those that are just completely blind, that just believe everything they say. I say and hear that believe. So I'll give some examples of what I mean. Okay. I hope that everyone on this channel can understand that genocide is bad. I hope we can understand that. Now, is there varying degrees? Not by my standard. Death is death is death. Murder is murder is murder. I don't care how many different names, how many different statements get put out about how if someone believes that, like, would it matter what race is doing this? No. genocide is wrong all around. So there's a lot of statements and there's a lot of names being thrown, like terrorism and anti-Semites and this, that, the other thing. To someone on the first wave, or the wave that is already kind of progressively at 5D going onward, we don't really mishmash or need any statements to kind of clarify what is right and what is wrong. So that's why a lot of us have that starkly confused face when we meet people in the middle or on the other side, because we just cannot believe that this is the reality that we both do not share. And it's in this not sharing that people have to realize is that this is how the split is actually happening. It's right in front of our face, except we don't realize that that's what's taking place. Like, for the first time in my life, I can honestly say that I'm watching people blatantly not understand what I'm saying about death, about killing people. And there's those of us that are kind of in the same frequency, that hear the same radio station, put it that way, that will have these conversations and we're like, oh yeah, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is what needs to change, this is what needs to happen. And we're all like nodding our heads. We don't know each other. We're around the world and we have no contact with each other yet. When we do speak online or when we do meet up on these videos, if you are agreeing with what I'm saying, it's because you're on that same frequency. I don't know you, you don't know me, but we agree. Okay, that agree is universal. That agreement is understood, okay? So it doesn't matter where we are in the world. We understand the same language, the same frequency, and the same topics will probably be much agreed upon. Then there's the middle people that are like, well, I kind of agree with it, but I really don't agree with it, but I'm too scared to say that I agree or disagree. So fear is controlling this middle group. This middle group, if they were to speak to their heart of hearts, would probably side with one or the other. Either they feel that genocide is the right thing, or they feel that genocide is the wrong thing. Maybe they're scared of the titles. Maybe they're scared of being called an anti-Semite. So that's what corrupts their thinking, and that's what corrupts their challenge when it comes to deciding who they are. So what I'm trying to say with this one example is that, let's say, for example, genocide is the example I'm using, but it can definitively show a person who and what they're made of. If somebody believes that genocide is correct, that there's a level of supremacy, that they feel that they're more important, or their culture is more important, or they are, they're entitled to do something like this, then you obviously know which side you're on. You are not saying that you're right or wrong. What I'm saying is that you definitively know that this is your side. So what I'm trying to get at is that it's more of the middle grounders that, the father and mother are most consciously aware of. And I think this is the divide itself between they say the 3 and the 5. But let's just take away semantics. This is just an understanding that this separation is happening right in front of our eyes. And this is the first time I can honestly say that I am seeing this with a level of discernment where I don't feel like I have to combat anyone. I will honestly say those that are combating right now, the most combative grouping that there is the middle ground. Because even the middle ground can understand that they're angry, they feel like they're misled, they feel like there's a lot to fight for. And I'm not saying that there isn't a lot to fight for, but it's how you fight about it. It's how you go after the change that matters. And what I'm saying is those that have integrated their self and those that are quite understanding of who they are, they may be on the side of understanding that this variable exists. And the middle grounders are the ones that are still deciding how they're going to make that change happen. And then there's those on the far, right side that feel like their entitlement to all of these things is correct. And unfortunately, they will stay in the same world that is presenting itself. When you are someone that's on, let's say, the far left, what I call the lightish left, okay, you will find that you can talk to people that are in the middle and still kind of find a common ground. But if you talk to those on the right, the darker night, it's like as if now there's no argument to be had. It is very definitively set. There is a complete divide. There is a complete line. And that shift, or the two islands, is just separating farther and farther and farther and farther. So if you've asked yourself in the last years, months, let's say, and said to yourself, like, what world are these people seeing? You have to realize is that they are seeing a totally different world. That is really what's taking place. It's like you can literally be in the same world, but see a different, and I'm not even talking viewpoint. I'm saying seeing a different world shape up. Whereas those that are on the far left are seeing a different world shape up. We are seeing different worlds, yet we coexist. And the ones in the middle are the ones that are combative, the ones that are still fighting, that are letting their emotions settle, that are trying to figure out which side they're really representing, because they themselves have this turmoil within them that they need to kind of figure out. And how I can kind of define this is like this. the far left, right? You'll see that they still can fight, but they are like the Buddhist monks that are walking across the United States right now. They're not trying to start fights. They're not trying to start wars. They're just trying to say their message and moving forward. It's very similar to the elderly that you see in Britain that are just holding up signs and not fighting and not combating. Whereas that you see that there's a lot more fun and engagement. There's plushy movements. There's all these different fun styled movements happening to make light of a very bad situation. And I would say those are the persons that are on the far left. They understand the concept that anger and mistrust and violence will not solve anything. However, those in the middle are very, very perturbed. Their world is coming to a crumbling head because the world that they believed in for so long is not the world that they're seeing. And this is very, very detrimental to those in the middle because they are at that apex moment where as these two islands divide, that pressure or that tearing feeling they feel has to come out somewhere. So they will, revolt. They will cause, they will fight for justice. They will do all these things because they have to define them to themselves which side they're on. And the thing is that in that time, the middle grouping is the largest grouping. If we've got 7 billion, 8 billion people, I would say 3 to 5 billion of those are in the middle ground. Whereas the other 1 billion's on the light and 1 billion's on the night. Definitively. Okay, so there's 1 billion people that already know that they're anti-Semitics, that they're bigots, that they're supremacists, that they're warmongering, that they're plain out evil. You know what I'm saying? And they're okay with it, but that's their decision. And I can't really discriminate against them because at least they know who they are. You know what I mean? And so do the ones that are on the light that know who they are. There was no qualms. There was no gray area. But however, whereas these middle grounders are probably suffering one of the most insanely difficult points of time of their lives because they don't know where they stand yet. They think they do, but they haven't done the integrative work that a lot of us on the light or the night side had to do. Because if you think that, you just wake up dark and dingy, you don't. That's something that is grown upon. That's something that you've decided multiple times. That's something that you've morphed into. Same as the light side, which it has taken many years for some of us to develop the discernment and to go through the transmutation of emotions to get to the level we're at. So when you see that the world is being pulled away from you and you're having to react, can you really get upset that the reaction is what takes place? No. So this level, and I think these next couple of years are going to be for this middle ground world, meaning the middle ground people that still don't know where they really lie, or they begin their integrative journey so that they can either decide if they're on the right or on the light, the night or the light. And this takes time because without this whole upheaval, much like COVID that I brought up at the beginning, a lot of you don't know what your decision would have been until you were put in the place of needing to decide it. So a lot of you might have thought to yourselves like, oh, if somebody did this to me and took away free speech, I'd fight for it. But then when, the actual fight came to the door, you realize, oh, I'm going to lose my job. Maybe I shouldn't fight for it. And you decided differently at that moment. So what I'm saying is that COVID proved to a lot of us which side of which aisle we're actually in. And it's not like I'm putting any judgment, but what I'm saying, I'm sure it surprised a lot of you, especially when we realized what the outcome was after all. Can we admit that to ourselves? Can we do the cleanup necessary to stop that spike RNA, within our bodies? That's the next step for a lot of you in the middle. But what I'm trying to say is that for those of you in the middle, that decision probably shocked you as a person. And maybe that is what sparked you to understand that maybe you have more work to do. And that's okay because realistically, as this divisionary situation happens, and it is a consciousness thing, that's why a lot of you feel like you're looking at a world that you just don't understand. And then at the same time, it's like you cannot believe that it's happening the way it's happening in front of your face. These people that you were once in bed with or you loved or had friends, you just make no sense to each other. And it's okay. It's like literally you can be across the table from somebody who believes in Trump and you're just like, he's a joke, and the thing is that division keeps getting farther and farther away. You don't have to fight them on their reasoning for why they care about this person, and they don't have to fight you as to why you think he's a joke. It's just so much so that realistically, the divide is very well felt, impassioned, because this is where this 3 to 5 shift is happening. There are those that are going to stay on the certain timeline where they see the night side play out, meaning the darker forces play out their version. And then those that are on the light side that see a different version procuring and changing and morphing, they're going to go into a different phase. It's like we could still be in the same space-time continuum, but we can see a totally different world unveiling in front of our own eyes. Those that are on the same frequency, those that have nodded their head as I speak, we're going to see a different world. And those that have been in disagreements with me this entire time, you're going to have your own world, and that's totally cool. And then there's those of you in the middle that haven't decided where you lie. And that's okay. And that's why you feel like you're so stretched. So just be aware of that. Just know that that's why all of this is happening. It's not because you're lost. It's not because you're confused. I mean, in some respects, yes, it is a confusion, but it's more of like the stability of deciding for yourself which side or who you really are hasn't come into full phase yet. And that's why you feel so stretched. But when you actually know who you are all days of the week, who you are all times and spaces, it doesn't matter who's asking you, the answer will still be the same. When you have the definitive sense of self, then that's when things get easier because you will have shifted to a parameter, to a conscious expression that you're comfortable with, that you don't, second guess, that you're fully aware of. Whereas if you're still in the middle, and that's why I said the right or the left or the right, the light or the night is actually a better stage, at least in the self, to be in, simply because both sides know exactly who they are and what they're defending. Whereas those in the middle are still really, really confused. And that's actually a little like harder to discern, a little harder to navigate. So I just wanted to break this down because a lot of people keep thinking that it's going to be something out and external from themselves when really it's right at home, when really it's right in front of our faces, when really it's happening every day. We just don't realize with the subtlety that this is what's happening. And we don't realize, but we can see it, but we can't put our finger on it. We haven't really come to terms because I know for myself, I have a lot of people that come to me asking like, what is this? Why did these people not see what I see? And it's like a very uncomfortable state for a lot of us. So please know that this is felt and this is what's taking place. And as time rolls on, and I think it will be several years more before all of the middle section is weighted out. And the thing is too, what's interesting is what the middle section may not know is the more hairier, the more crazy, the more, like, let's say vilifying and starkingly present. Because, like, for example, for those of us that knew that who we were at the COVID shot stage, everything else has just been ridiculous, right? But what people don't realize is that God, the universe, will keep giving ridiculous until the middle has found their path. If that makes sense. When the middle has decided which side, and there's a true divide, meaning like they can actually be, they can actually pick a side for themselves. So it's just going to get more topsy-turvy until that middle ground that's still trying to hold on to a world that doesn't exist anymore finally settles into who and what they are. That's when all the chaos will probably stop. That's when all the craziness will probably stop. Because when everyone's defined, then we can move forward, right? When everybody knows who and what they are, then we can move forward. We can know who the true enemies are. We can know who the true heroes are. But if we don't know what our ass from our elbow, so to speak, that leaves us in a very muddy, very chaotic place. Ergo what we're facing right now. So please know that it's going to take time, some more shakeups, some more craziness to get everybody deciding who and what they are. And that's basically where we're at right now in this lifescape that we're all sharing together. I hope that helps, guys. Love you lots. Bye for now.